So a lot of articles about SMBs trying to cut expenses, lower their costs. There's two sides of this. One as the business, and then all of these technology and software companies that are going to be dealing with attrition.
Yeah, I think there's been a ton of talk about what is happening with inflation, cutting consumer spending, but not that it hasn't happened, but I think it's becoming more visible that businesses are being a lot more conscious when it comes to investing or subscribing into products. And it seems like really this year, since Q1, and we felt it as an agency as well, decisions are taking way longer, but I think the curtain or the veil is being removed, and people are really going to take a step back and say, what is a necessity for my business? And this platform that I'm paying $500 a month on, is there something cheaper, even though it's not as good, that I can cut cost, or can I potentially move to a spreadsheet?
No, I think the reality is you should probably always be doing this when you're running a business. But when things are great, you tend to it becomes kind of back burner, and you become a little wasteful at times, possibly in spending. We're going through this exercise where we're switching one of the credit cards we use. But the great thing and the real reason, one of the great outcomes of this is going to be all of our reoccurring charges. So we're having everybody move them, whoever owns them, right? So if it's a marketing, then marketing's going to move it to the card that's specifically designed for marketing, and vice versa. But it's causing us to look at all of these individual charges, $20 a month for this little SaaS that we might just not even be using anymore because it's $20 a month, we're not even noticing it, right? And it's not like the users are actually seeing what the controller and accounting sees. So we're probably wasteful, and I think we'll be able to pick up. It might not be anything monumental, but could be a few $100s a month or a couple thousand, and that adds up, and we're just paying for it. So I think, and it's probably smaller the business, the more important it is. But it's something we all should be doing. So it's a shame that us being in a recession, are we in a recession? Can we say that? Economic downturn that we're in is causing us to do that. But it's healthy and something we should all be doing anyway. We shouldn't be spending wastefully.
I think when we're growing, when anybody's growing, the subconscious response to investments or expenses, however you want to label them, is that, hey, I've plugged all these tech solutions in and they're helping me grow, because consumer spending is actually driving it. I'm not saying it doesn't have anything to do with technology. Technology has certain impacts, but we are not sitting down and analyzing like, hey, if I'm using so-and-so CRM or so-and-so email marketing tool, what is the lift they're giving me? Because everything collectively is giving you a lift and you're feeling good about it. When I think we hit a plateau of growth or a downturn, then it's like, it almost becomes, I need to micro partition every single solutions or platform that I'm using and analyze, what does this actually do for me? Has this contributed to my growth? Was it camouflage their success by other platforms? And then to your point, and I think we should do it, I don't know, quarterly, biannually, depends on the business and their spend. But I think when you're comfortable with that growth and you're kind of assuming like, hey, subconsciously, I put together a tech stack that is a driving force to this and is doing well for me. And when that hits a wall and the brakes are hit, and it's like, where the screws loose?
Yeah, no. So I had a moment last week. I was talking to a peer, a very, very good friend of mine. You know him. You're friends with him as well. And we were talking about some best practices. I said, hey, we're talking in this Slack over here. Why don't I just Slack connect to you, and you can just be in our Slack and we can be in your Slack, and we can bring in team members and just hammer through all of this. And I sent the Slack request. I said, hey, do you want to do this? He's like, yeah, send it. And he's like, oh, that's the paid Slack. I don't have the paid Slack. And this is a large company, relatively large, right? They're doing, I think they're doing 8 figures in annual revenue, if not close. So a decently sized company, and they're using free Slack. And I started thinking, well, we pay a few $100s a month for our Slack. Do we need paid Slack?
Me?
Yeah, I think I do, but then I started thinking about it, like, do I really? Like, could I get by without it? I think I might be able to. Now, it does have there's some bells and whistles and Slack Connect and not losing your chat history. There's some benefits that I use regularly every day. I can't tell you how often I jump in Slack and I hit Control F and search for something that was said, and it might be a year or 2 years ago. It's not. I don't know if it's a necessity. It's a nice to have. I don't know if it's a need to have.
So the interesting part is, actually happened last couple of weeks, and I just happened to be in somebody's shop. I saw that a few Shopify apps that had like unlimited plans per se. They might have been grandfathered or whatever. They were removing them. And they were saying, hey, you got to pick one of the paid plans. So are we now also entering this economy, whether it's Slack or another platform, where they're going to say, hey, you want to use Slack? You got to pay. And I'm not saying Slack is going to do that, or Microsoft Teams, or whomever who has these freemium models, but I think there's going to be a lot of discussions in meetings for these SaaS solutions when people start unsubscribing is, okay, if we can't keep people and there's not a retention, then how do we take these hundreds of thousands of users and convert them to a paid plan? It may not be the premium paid plan, but $100 a month is better than $0 a month.
No, you're right. So that's the other side of this equation. So you have these businesses that are trying to cut costs, and then that indirectly through churn is affecting the other side, where they all of a sudden their revenues are going and they have to bridge the gap in revenues. So then the people that are remaining, or people that maybe weren't paying, they're trying to get revenue from. It's a weird seesaw.
I think there's going to be this space where I don't know if you remember. I'm going to probably screw up my time frame, but I think it's like 10, 15 years ago. And it's still kind of applicable. But at one point, there was this, like, we use these charts. I think we do them for AI now, but before we used to be for marketing, where it was like a circular chart. And for each like sub-segment of marketing, it had like 20 to 30 to 40 companies that you could choose from that are competing within that space. And of course, some had like crossover. And what happened at one point, there was either a exits of these companies, mergers, acquisitions, whatever you want to call, and the noise reduced drastically, and the people that or the companies that really excelled triumphed over all the challengers, or whatever the case is. I think we spoke a couple of times about the example of, I remember Constant Contact being that group, MailChimp, Pardot, Marketo. I don't remember the last time somebody mentioned Pardot or Marketo. Or you have Bronto, who was big at one point. They're no longer around. So I think what's going to now happen, there's going to be a huge injection, or at least a uprising of smaller solutions offering same or similar products at a lower price.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we've talked about Klaviyo a good bit. It's going to be exactly that. These larger companies are going to have these rebels coming in and trying to disrupt them. And, you look at how MailChimp was this big guy, and Klaviyo did it to them. But it's very cyclical. If Klaviyo's not careful, someone will do it to them. But it's like that for all of them. It's all the big players.
And that's applicable to anything. I don't care if it's
applicable to Prella and Battlebox.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. If someone comes in, if we get too comfortable and we stop providing the value and support and experience to our customers that they deserve, someone will disrupt us. Someone should disrupt us if we start acting in that behavior.
It's funny. I was at the Shopify Enterprise Summit, and I was talking to a few more established, larger agencies, people that have been around the ecosystem one way or another for a long time. A few people were saying, "Oh, all these new guys are coming in. They're undercutting us. They're doing these things and these services." And my response was good. And they're like, "What do you mean good?" I was like, "The only way you stay young and innovative is if you hang out with the young and innovative.
Makes you better.
It does, and we need that. And I love.
And if you don't adapt, you die.
100%. And that's anything in life. That's in sports, that's in
Yeah.
politics, that's in business, that's in technology, you name it. You got to evolve. And there's a lot of conversations. And I was talking to a few developers, and they're like, they think AI is going to take, a huge leap. But their thing was like, oh, I don't want to jump into that. Feel free, that's
Yeah.
your decision. But the
You're gonna get-
writing's on the wall. If you don't adapt,
Yeah.
you're going to get phased out. And I'm not saying you're going to be without work or without a job, but your opportunities are going to become a lot more limited.
Yeah. So true.